Sending money back home from the U.S. could become even more expensive thanks to President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. Could the new tax make remittances unattractive for millions of Africans in the diaspora, and at what cost? Now, the proposed tax on remittances is the latest U.S. policy shift, coming just months after it drastically cut foreign aid and imposed steep tariffs globally. People send about $905 billion back home, while bank data shows the largest remittances in the world come from the U.S. The Trump administration says it plans to impose a 1% tax on remittances to hold on to some of the money sent overseas and keep it circulating within the U.S. economy. World Bank data shows that in 2024, African countries received nearly $100 billion in remittances. Egypt received remittances worth about $29 billion last year, while Nigeria got nearly $21 billion and Morocco received $12 billion. Kenya and Ghana received nearly $5 billion USD each. World Bank data reveals that remittances from Western countries account for a fifth of the GDP in countries like Liberia, Comoros, the Gambia, and Lesotho. Sub-Saharan Africa is the most expensive region to send money to. Extra payments include bank charges and a percentage taken by the operator. So the fee to send $200 costs around $17. This could now rise to $19 with the new remittance tax. Critics say experts are already paying income tax. So this new remittance tax effectively means they're paying double and that it is meant to lessen migration to the U.S. But research by the blockchain data platform Chainalysis shows that senders could turn to cryptocurrency. And that would deny the U.S. government the nearly $10 billion it hopes to raise with the new tax, according to estimates from the Joint Committee on Taxation and the American Enterprise Institute. For more on this, we had a conversation with Collins Nweke. He's a senior international trade consultant. Now, African countries are not the only ones affected, but what do you think will be the overall impact of this new remittance tax on the continent? Because some say it's simply 1%.
A remittance fee would essentially mean a surcharge, that's extra burden, extra expenses on the remitter. So no matter how small it is, essentially it is a minus for the person that is remitting. Now, let's take the United States, for instance. A typical remittance is estimated to be, say, $200 US. It therefore means that for every $200 that you send, you are going to be surcharged some $2. Now, individually, that might not mean very much, but essentially, with volume, it actually culminates in huge amount, even if it's half a percentage. So yes, it's going to have impact on the household. I mean, in terms of fiscal impact. Now, on the other hand, this might actually force individuals who had given up informal kind of remittance, system whereby they don't pass through the official remittance companies. They send to individuals or find other, illicit manners to send money back home. They had given it up because, there have been, more solutions. It has become more seamless. But with this introduction of tax, if it goes through, it means that they will be forced to, go the illegal or informal way. That cannot be good. Now, at the level of GDP, so you are talking of, at the level of government, it is estimated that U.S. sends approximately, 1.3 billion annually to Africa. Now, a surcharge, initially they played around 5%, and so, but let's take the average. It's not been passed. So about 10% of that will be 1.3 billion that is supposed to go to the government of different African countries. By all measures, that's a huge amount of money. And if you consider also that overseas development assistance, is being slashed or actually stopped altogether by Trump, it therefore means that Africa is left with less money to contend with. Now, this is not all doom. It is not all doom because, like I mentioned earlier, um, individuals resort to other means than official to send money. So at the end, it might be that the net loss will not be much, but at least there is some sort of disruption.
Now, some African governments rely heavily on remittances for their economies. Where does that leave them since foreign aid has also been cut?
Yes, indeed. There are quite a number of African countries that rely heavily on remittances in their national economic planning because the inflow is significant. In some countries, remittances often exceed foreign aid. African households, is estimated, receive some 40 billion US dollars annually, which actually outpaces the official development assistance. Like I mentioned earlier, also, aid reductions compound risks. A remittance drop also means that consumer spending is going to be weaker, smaller tax revenue from formal channels, and strained social services, in some jurisdictions. Governments relying on stable inflows now face deeper fiscal and balance of payments vulnerabilities.
The Trump bill also requires money transfer companies to verify and report the citizenship status of their users. How is that likely to affect the African diaspora's ability to send money home?
The Trump requirement for citizenship reporting and verification, obviously throws up another layer of complications in a situation, in a matter that is already complicated enough. I mean, the most obvious consequences of that that number one, it will slow transfers due to frictions that could be expected in the onboarding process. That's one, and then two. There are concerns about invading of privacies or discouragement of use. And then number three, and equally important, is the potentials to crowd out undocumented users. And believe you me when I say that the number of undocumented people, the number is huge. So when they are crowded out, forced out of the system, using unregulated processes or even crypto, that's going to actually mean that part of the intended, consequences of the tax by Donald Trump, Trump's administration, will actually not see the light of day. So this not only hurts, transparency, but it also increases reliance on informal networks, something that government, should be in the forefront of actually combating.
So then what options do remittance senders have?
Well, before now, before remittances became as seamless as it has become, due to a number of new platforms and all of that, there is this experience that when faced with high costs, for instance, at the time that Western Union, MoneyGram, and all of those, pioneers in the sector actually dominated the scene, we know for a fact that faced with such high cost of remittance and burdensome compliance, senders at the time, we experienced that, used more of the informal channels, the so-called, cash couriers. These are cheaper, but risk involves, risks are involved. For instance, loss, fraud. We saw some fraud happen at the time. And, when this happen, because they are informal, there is little or no legal recourse. So that increases again the risk. Obviously, people would go crypto. There is absolutely no doubt about that, to avoid formal fees. But that involves foreign exchange risk and some level of volatility. Now, relying on less regulated, fintechs that get, stringent U.S. checks, or they might also pass costs onto senders, often with opaque pricing. So these are some of the things to expect as perhaps unintended consequences of the big, beautiful tax, according to Donald Trump.
Now, we all know that artificial intelligence is reshaping everything, and education is no exception. In Nigeria, an organization is building an AI large language model, which is tailored specifically for students and educators. Hilary Noruka has more from Lagos.
The Children's International School in Lagos is on target to set a national benchmark, with students gearing up to represent Nigeria on the world stage at a major robotics competition in the Netherlands later this year.
So our robots we've built is supposed to imitate performing tedious tasks underwater. We're looking at the future of robots entering the water, doing tasks that might be very hard for humans to do, and solving different problems.
Beyond robots, teachers use AI-powered applications to simulate complex science concepts, and the school's AI assessment system provides a detailed look at students' progress.
For CIS, we are just beginning to integrate artificial intelligence into our systems. What we've done so far with the use of artificial intelligence is that our teachers leverage on it to make work more productive for them in terms of making lesson plans, creating quizzes, and engaging activities to promote teaching and learning.
Elsewhere in Lagos, more than 4,000 people are crammed into a hall, keen to understand how AI will impact children's lives.
An organization called Digital Equity Africa is taking big steps to make sure that children on the continent aren't left behind in the rise of artificial intelligence. That's why it's hosting Africa's first AI Summit for Children here in Lagos, bringing together thousands of children, parents, and educators.
So I need somebody to join me on stage to live demo board AI. You're going to ask it anything you want.
The organizers, Digital Equity Africa, has also launched Bud AI, an innovative large language model that assists students with tasks, while also challenging their critical thinking skills.
But we've come up with a tool that has the right guardrails that will enable all of that, but without losing the protection of a child, right? And why it is different is the guardrails that are set in place. They are just words that will not fly. There are images that will not fly. Very importantly, for a child to be onboarded to board AI, they have to do that in conjunction with their parents.
OHA is ambitiously building a 100,000-strong digital community of children in the first year. She's also collaborating with the government to draft Nigeria's AI regulations. That could help these children and others learn, using all the digital tools at their disposal. Hilary Noruka, Africa Matters, Lagos.
And speaking of digital tools making our lives better, we head to Kenya now, where about 11% of the population, or slightly over 6 million people, are Muslim. Some companies are aiming to provide microfinance and investment solutions to them using faith-based principles. Isadin Haji went to find out more and reports from Nairobi.
This group of developers work for Spotit, a platform that allows shoppers to buy now and pay later. It also offers Sharia-compliant products for its Muslim clients, such as interest-free loans, and avoids trading practices forbidden by their faith.
We noticed there was a huge gap in the BPNL with the current processes, with the current apps. The process is very slow, and it takes days before they can approve such approvals. But with our BPNL Spotit, it's very much easier and faster for approvals because we connect directly to the banks.
While Kenya has only 3 fully fledged Islamic banks, conventional banks also offer Sharia-compliant services. But the broader ecosystem made up of fund managers, stockbrokers, and digital lenders often face regulatory hurdles, inconsistent Sharia oversight, and low consumer awareness.
Currently, as we speak, Islamic finance globally is more than a $3 trillion industry. Africa, Kenya, East Africa is not left behind. We are already growing. The Islamic finance in Kenya has grown to over to approximately, if I'm not wrong, around 5 billion in total deposits all over amongst Islamic banks and Islamic windows. So you can be assured that there is room for growth.
That growing market is what Salman Elias is hoping to tap into. He works on a real estate tokenization platform that aims to make the real estate ownership dreams a reality.
This platform comes up and gives everyone a chance to own real estate, even though it's in a fractional way.
Kenya's Capital Market Authority says it wants to promote the growth of Islamic fintech by pushing for the necessary government policies.
About 5 or 6 regulators have all come together to create the policy framework, followed by the National Treasury, which will put together that document and push it for legislation to completely overhaul that. One of the key aspects of that is the requirement for Sharia compliance governance framework, which has been a presidential directive on the same.
Mobile money platforms such as M-Pesa have made Kenya one of the biggest users of fintech in Africa. And even though Islamic fintech is still at an infant stage, innovators hope to expand through Sharia-compliant digital channels. What's happening here isn't just a tech trend, it's a values-driven movement. These developers aren't just writing code, they're also writing a new chapter in financial inclusion, one that speaks the language of both faith and innovation. Isadin Haji, Africa Matters, Nairobi, Kenya.
Staying in Kenya, we catch up with refugees there who are struggling with displacement and are now trying to survive devastating funding cuts. Some young refugees in the Kakuma camp are finding solace in traditional dancing, as Brenda Radido reports.
The Acholi traditional drum and open calabash echoes through the Kakuma refugee camp. It's a celebration of culture for dancers like Gladys Amwony, who has lived in the camp for 8 years.
I got here when I was 12 years old and now I'm 20. I still like the traditional dance because when I was home, I liked the traditional dance.
They have to keep the culture alive because the moral values they learn from it, and also message of peace, convey message of peace, and then conveying message of togetherness on how they can be able to socialize with other communities. That's one of them. And also when children learn through cultures, they are able to showcase their heritage, their rich heritage, and also even in fact the other communities outside.
But for this group, there's also another motivation. Every lunchtime, members of the camp meet on the playground to try to dance away their hunger. Skipping lunch helps them to stretch their monthly food rations which were reduced by half due to the Donald Trump administration's cuts to U.S. aid. Their intake currently sits at 30% of the UN nutritional recommendation per person. 5 kilometers away in the neighboring Kolebeye village 3, a different performance is taking place. These boys depend on American donations to facilitate programs such as taekwondo and ballet, which may soon come to a halt if the funding shortfall remains.
We are now reducing some of the activities because we are few, the staff are few, and even per day is only one staff who is remaining in the center, and it is really hard for him or her to contact 500 children. We do duties like other children, they can stay outside the fence, and maybe after 30 minutes we remove them, and we also allowed others to come and practice.
Trump's decision to freeze foreign aid earlier this year has put countless crucial humanitarian programs around the world at risk. The World Food Programme warns that unless it gets $44 million soon, full food rations and cash assistance for the 700,000 refugees in Kenya will dry up in a matter of weeks. But with nowhere to turn, people here are hoping they'll be able to jump through the aid hoop. Brenda Radido, TRT World.
We head to Rwanda next, where Kigali city officials have an ambitious plan to provide decent housing for 90% of its residents by 2050. Hundreds of Mpazi residents have been relocating from the once flood-prone informal settlement to a model neighborhood with safer, climate-resilient housing. Diana Iriza brings us that story.
Winnie, a mother of 6, is one of the 700 people who moved into these newly constructed houses this month as part of the Mpanzi rehousing project.
It took a lot of convincing for me and my husband to give up our land and the house I built to the government. But after seeing the amount of destruction climate disasters have caused to families living in high-risk zones, I'm happy to be moving here.
In 2023, heavy rains triggered floods and landslides, killing over 130 people and destroying thousands of homes across the country. But some residents argue that relocation isn't necessary since the new houses are in the same location. We're still living here, and it doesn't feel like we're in any immediate danger. I don't think I would agree to move. It took a lot for me to establish a home here, and I've lived in this place for so many years. City officials say nearly 800 homes have been built so far.
The Rwandan capital city, Kigali, is committed to transforming its unplanned settlements that is currently housing approximately 60% of the city's entire population. In the year 2023, the city secured $70 million to upgrade 4 major unplanned settlements.
The Kigali City Master Plan aims to provide decent housing for 90% of its residents by 2050. With the first phase of the Mpazi model housing project complete, authorities say they plan to build more houses in areas with less flood risks and improved drainage.
When the person doesn't understand really, we give the person the right to go into the justice, and we can continue with the project. So that's how it is done. But fortunately, even if some people delay to understand more than others, when you see like almost all my neighbors have accepted, I'm the one remaining, what am I waiting for?
Officials plan to use the Mpanzi housing project as a blueprint for upgrading other communities living in informal settlements. Diana Iriza, Africa Matters, Kigali, Rwanda.
That's our show this week. Share your thoughts and suggestions about the stories you've seen on this episode and leave your comments on our Africa Matters YouTube page or on X. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye from me, Grace Korea Kanja.